Okay, you're looking at Pfizer and the 144-week cycles. There is, interestingly enough, Pfizer is plays very well with the Gann cycles, and this is no better illustrated than the more recent 144-week cycle that called the major high here a year ago, mid-December 2022. So that's just 1 year ago, this high. And if you'd sold that 144-week cycle as it came due, boom, look what you made. Pretty impressive. Now, going forward, here's some interesting ideas. We have all these cycles that came due last year, not just the 144-week cycle, but the 52-week cycle. 105 weeks is just over 104. That would be 2 years. 180-week cycle, 72, 64. Quite a cluster of cycles that called this top. So if I'm being honest, it wasn't just the 144-week cycle. When you get a cluster, you have a better chance of a turn. You rallied into it, that set up this huge sell-off. Now, what's interesting now, as much as we all hate Pfizer, and we know we all do because they're not a good company, but the reality is, look at this huge sell-off into a 52-week cycle. 1 week later, it starts to move up. So it bottoms in sync with the 52-week cycle. It rallies. This is behaving exactly as you would expect based on the Gann principle, 1 year cycle. Every time you have a major high or low, you have to count 52 weeks forward in time for another possible high or low. We don't always know whether it's going to be a high or low, but we know major highs and lows, you could look for turns 1 year later. So, this cluster of cycles, 1 year later, boom, you get a low. So that's kind of interesting. And you might notice here, if you're drawing a 1 by 1 down from high, and we're using a scale of 0.08, that's the price unit, that's the scale it moves on this chart. That's what we've set the 1 by 1 to. So on a weekly basis, we're looking at the price movement down every week is 0.08, right? So it's a fairly small scale. It captures this high, and you're going, hey, if it worked here, maybe we can do a parallel line down here. And sure enough, it works here. And what's really interesting, it's giving support here now. 262 weeks down from this high, or just a little bit over 5 years, high to low. So not only is it 1 year, 52 weeks, high to low, it's also 260 weeks or 262, just over 5 years from a high into this low, and it's finding support on the 1 by 1. Pretty cool. That's what you look for, not just with Pfizer, but any stock. You want a time and price setup. You want the Gann line giving you support in price. You want the Gann cycles calling the low in time. Both a 5 year and a 1 year cycle do here now. It kind of says that you probably got some sort of a low here for Pfizer. So 12 months high to low, 216 months low to low, 60 months high to low, 24 months high to low. Hey, what's not to like? It's a lot of cycles coming due here now, indicating at the very least you don't want to be short this stock now, because the risk is, hey, maybe you go back to 36, 50% retracement. You might still see another leg down into March. 48 months is 4 year cycle. 180 months is a 15-year cycle. So, there is that possibility. We don't actually know this will have to be a low. We know it'll be some sort of turn. And, maybe for all I know, we rally all the way back into March, or you rally to this level and then fail and go down here somewhere. So I'm not endorsing Pfizer. I'm not saying, hey, go out there and buy this stock. You still have to be a little careful. They have absolutely toilet water reputation, but given the huge sell-off, you should expect some sort of bounce for this stock. And if you got to 30 and you found resistance, then you'd have to say, hey, well, maybe it's going to resume the downtrend. Maybe this was just a dead cat bounce. But if you closed above 30, yeah, maybe you go to 36. So you keep an open mind whether you're looking to buy or sell the market. You're always paying attention to what that stock is doing. How is it behaving relative to the Gann lines? So these are 1/8 increments from the low to the high. We divide the range into 1/8 increments, and we watch every time you get up to one and see how it behaves. If it closes above it, then we start looking for a move to 36.66. If not, hey, if you stop at 30, maybe you resume the downtrend. So it's not so much a forecast. It's more like just paying attention to the clues that the market is offering you. Now, notice here we're using a weekly time frame, and let's see what we've got. We're using 0.5 per week. So that means on a weekly basis, every week, the slope of this line moves down a half a point. Now, what I like about this one is, every time it gets up to the 1x1, it fails. And 28.43, that's big resistance. If you close above that, maybe you go up here somewhere. If you fail, maybe you continue down. So again, we're not just looking at the cycles. We're looking at time and price and how they play together. We suspect you're going to get a decent reaction rally from Pfizer, even though we may not personally like the company. You just wouldn't be short this stock right now because, hey, it's gotten beat up for over a year, and now it might be ready to start a reaction rally. So that could happen, especially if you get above 28.43. So keep that in mind. Watch to see what the market tells you on the way back up. Now, what is this? February 9th, you have a 30-week cycle. If we anchor back here, we're anchoring from, looks like, December 7th, 2018. So that would be, over 5 years ago. That was a big high. And then every 30 weeks, you get a turn. So we're looking at, hey, we're going to watch and see what happens on February 9th, or that week anyway. It would actually be February 5th through the 9th, that whole week. On the chart here, it says 2/9/24, which is the week ending February 9th. So depending on what you do into that cycle tells you what it's going to do thereafter. So if it rallies into it, you sell off thereafter. If you sell off into it, maybe that's a bottom and you rally. So when I put a question mark next to the low, I don't really know at this point. I want to see what the market gives us. So it's always paying attention to the clues of what the market tells you, trying to be flexible and listen to the market. Don't listen to your preconceived notions of what this stock should do. Personally, I hate the company. I hate the stock. I don't like it, but I sure as heck would not be short. Actually, if you're a fan of candlesticks, you would look at this and say, hey, look at this inside week. That's a sign it may be getting ready to go up. So not just the Gann lines, all the other clues that we look at, And like I said, if we go back, this one was calling a low in sync with a 5-year cycle, and all these cycles are calling a low. So we're kind of leaning to the idea you're going to get a decent reaction rally, and if you close a week above 28.43. If you close this week, this Friday, above that level, you're probably going up here somewhere. Maybe to 36, maybe even higher. So just keep in mind, it's always about time and price, no matter what you're doing. And while we're on this chart, I kind of buzzed through it before, but hey, these vertical lines, those are square outs where the Gann fan drawn up from zero crosses the level of this prior swing low from March of 2020. That's a square out. That means you're squaring out every time that happens. This one's a square out, this one. And the idea is you get a turn. We don't always know what it'll be, and it doesn't always work that well. You can see here it didn't work that well. But, here it worked really well. We had this square out here. It called this lower high, setting up a move down, and you stayed below the 1x1. Now, if you close back above the 1x1 at 28.43 by the end of this week, yeah, you're probably going to rally. So it's not about your personal beliefs or what you've heard from a fundamental analyst as to what this stock's value is. All that's well and good, and there may be truth and validity to that, but a lot of it gets shaped by a personal bias, and I'm first to admit, I don't like this company. I don't like them at all. But I would not be short because I'm using the discipline of Gann to tell me, hey, this thing's going to rally. There's a very good chance if we close above 28.43 this week, from a Gann perspective, you'll probably go to 36 or higher. So using that discipline of time and price keeps your personal bias out of the picture. You'll make more money trading with Gann.